apologize for breathing, apologize for taking up space, apologize for their body shape, weight, size. Hello everybody, welcome to my YouTube channel, Mary's Cup of Tea. It is 9:30 p.m. here in Canada and I just got home from a yoga class and it is this light. So today I want to talk about a very deep issue going on in our society, and that is women apologizing for their existence. So a lot of the times we apologize because we want to be more liked, but usually it doesn't end up making us more liked. It just makes us smaller and it pushes us down into this deep hole of be smaller, sit straight, look pretty, lose weight. And so because the language that we use matters, I want to lovingly invite you to stop apologizing for taking up space in your life. And what inspired this video was today when I was at my yoga studio, I decided to pop into the bathroom before the class. And I was on my way in when this woman was on her way out. And she was about 2 feet away from me when she looked at me and said, sorry. And I was like, you have nothing to apologize for. Mind you, she didn't even run into me. She didn't even breathe on me. She just apologized for basically being in the same area as me. And I found this very fascinating because I know a lot of us do this all the time. And some examples I want to bring up is, for example, you're on the phone and you can't hear what the person is saying. Usually people say, I'm sorry, what were you saying? And why? Not only does it devalue the word sorry, but it also serves no purpose in that sentence. It's so much more empowering to say, I couldn't hear you, what was that? Instead of apologizing and subconsciously, although you don't mean this, you're kind of saying that it's your fault. Another example is running into somebody or potentially running into somebody. Maybe you're on an airplane and you're always giving the person next to you the elbow room and you're always kind of shrinking yourself. Or maybe you're apologizing for expressing your feelings to your partner or a friend, or apologizing before asking for help. Like, I'm sorry, could you help me with this? Or this one's my favorite. I'm sorry, I don't want to bother you, but every time I get a message or an email, it usually starts with, I don't want to bother you, but. And it makes me very sad because women are so trained and so socialized to apologize for their existence, apologize for breathing, apologize for taking up space, apologize for their body shape, weight, size. And it all has to do with this collective, bigger issue of society diminishing women's power. And it gets to stop right now. And I always say it starts with us. So I'm gonna give you 3 steps to stop apologizing for your existence. The first is to notice where you're doing it. So some of these examples I brought up will be very helpful, but when you realize what you're subconsciously doing, it's so much easier to catch it because you're like, aha. So look for places like daily conversations, dialogues, text messages, when you're walking on the road, at work. This is very common when a woman is in a workplace, especially amongst men. Another one I hear a lot is, I'm sorry I didn't respond to your text, or I'm sorry I didn't answer the phone. And I am so guilty of this. This is something I'm working on. For some reason, I always feel guilty for taking time to respond, even though it'll be something completely out of my control. Like I'm just literally away from my phone and it's nothing malicious, but for some reason I feel the need to apologize. Another thing that I want to point out is women tend to overcompensate. So for example, if you really mean to send your friend, I'm sorry for not picking up the phone, usually instead of saying, hey, I'm sorry for not picking up the phone, let's chat later, we say something like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry for not picking up the phone. I was out with XYZ and I totally didn't see your text and I'm so sorry, but like I'm all yours now. When can you talk? And so it's this, first of all, it's generally a longer message and there is so much overcompensation for something that can be solved in one sentence. And remember that overcompensation perpetuates deficit. So every area in your life where you are overcompensating, you are pointing out where you don't feel enough, where you don't feel adequate. So in something like not responding to a text, I know it's a simple example, but I think we can all relate to it. You are overcompensating in that arena of not giving somebody attention because perhaps you are not getting enough attention. Or perhaps you're overcompensating in this area because you are a people pleaser and it's very important for people to like you. And what that shows is that there's some work to be done about liking yourself. Because when you're secure in yourself, you're able to articulate, voice your opinion, say what you need to say and move on with your life without overcompensating. So think of the areas in your life where you feel very secure and contrast them to the areas of your life where you're potentially overcompensating. This is a very powerful exercise, and I invite you to always go one layer deeper. So instead of just identifying where you're overcompensating, go deeper and ask yourself why. And usually the why will look like, why do I feel unworthy in this area? Why do I feel inadequate or not good enough when I respond to a text I forgot to get to earlier? Anyways, that was just a branch off of notice where you're apologizing, because generally that is where you're also overcompensating. The second step to stopping apologizing for your existence is replacing I'm sorry. So anytime you're trying to drop a bad habit, instead of eliminating the bad habit, replace it with something else. So a powerful way to replace I'm sorry is to instead say thank you. And my favorite is thank you for understanding. So instead of sending a long paragraph about why you're sorry, just say what you need to say. Hey, I was out with X, Y, and Z. Thanks for understanding. What's up? Want to talk? That's a whole different shift, and it's very empowering for both yourself and the other person. If you are completing a project at work and you need to communicate with coworkers, or you need to ask your professor for a paper extension, instead of saying, I'm so sorry, but like something happened and I need this, and can you help me with this? Say thank you for understanding. Shifting from I'm sorry to thank you takes your power back, because you are shifting from inadequacy to gratitude. And that is a very, very powerful mindset shift. So while you're working on shifting your own language, empower others to do the same, because the world becomes a better place when all women are empowered. So for example, what I did at the yoga studio when the girl was near me and apologized for being in the space, I said, you don't have to be sorry. And that's a very genuine and easy way to just tell somebody that, like, look, you did nothing wrong. And perhaps they're gonna go home and think about that and ask themselves, why were they apologizing? I also do this a lot when I am answering an email or a question I get online. A lot of people tend to apologize for their English. Please know that you never have to apologize for something that makes you you. Speaking multiple languages is so cool, and it's not your job to make sure the other person understands you. Your job is to articulate yourself as best as possible, but it's not your job to feel apologetic if somebody perhaps doesn't understand you. And this goes for anything. If you're apologizing for your body or how you look, oh my gosh, one thing I hear all the time my friends say is, I'm sorry I look like shit right now. And I have heard this in person from my friends, and I've also heard like big influencers doing this online in their videos, like going on YouTube and being like, I'm sorry I look like shit right now. Please, please, please don't ever apologize for how you look, how you are, how you speak, how you act, because those are the things that make you you. And although I'm not blaming you, I'm suggesting that every time you apologize for your existence, whatever that may look like, whether it's your looks or how you speak or how you act, anytime you apologize for something that makes you you, it adds to this collective issue of women reducing themselves and giving away their power. That's why I lovingly invite you to notice where you're apologizing for your existence, and then shift those statements from I'm sorry to thank you. And lastly, please empower others to do the same. You can phrase it in a very lighthearted manner by simply saying, you don't have to apologize for your English. Or, hey best friend, like please don't ever apologize for how you look, because one, I couldn't care less, and two, you're beautiful regardless. These things empower women as a collective. And you guys know I love the collective and I love collective empowerment. So I hope this video helps you stop apologizing for your existence and empowers you to take up space in this world for yourself, for those around you, and for women as a collective. If you like this message, please give it a thumbs up, share it with a friend, and leave me a comment down below if you can relate to this, because I am sure I'm not the only one who notices women apologizing all the time. It gets to stop now. So thank you, I love you guys as always, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. It helps me make more videos for you. So anyways, I love you guys all so much. Good night, or good morning.
Look at me now, I guess the doubt